Welcome back.
We have a skeleton here of a black rhino, and this is it's unfortunate. This is a skeleton of a white rhino that was killed here in 2013. It's unfortunate that some poachers were able to get into one of the corners of the conservancy. They shot this animal, and if you look closely, there is a bullet hole here, which it actually exited on this side. Okay. There's another hole here, which is also another bullet hole, and surely another one here. Actually confirmed that it was shot on from the left, and these guys were able to were lucky to carry the task. And this happened in 2013. And as a conservation education program, we ask ourselves, what is it that we need to do also to ensure that we communicate more the message of conservation? Yeah. We felt that we needed to clean out this skeleton and bring it here, so that wherever we are having the students here, when they enjoy seeing rhinos in the conservancy and other wildlife, they can come here and get really to see how the same animals are affected by poaching. 2013, this white rhino was pregnant. It's actually one of the original rhinos that we have here on Lewa. It was carrying a young unborn, which was almost 3 months to being born. And in rhino conservation, when you lose one individual, you actually affect the population of rhinos. And very easy mathematics, maybe you can do some mathematics. This rhino was pregnant, carrying a young baby in 2013. Generally, the calving interval is 3 months, 3 years, sorry. 3 years to 2.5 years to 3 years. So how many calves do you think it might be having today, if it was alive? So we have lost an opportunity of 4 calves if this rhino was still alive. And many times people really wonder, how can one animal really affect the population? That is one animal. So when you lose one animal, if by any chance it was pregnant, then we lose a big on the population. We really affect the population. And therefore, the lions, the elephants, and the rhinos, and other animals that are poached, either for their horns, for their tusks, or for their skin, or for other trophies, poaching really affects the population and actually the generation of those species. And we want really to help you and the rest of the people to appreciate that if we stop poaching, we are helping the species. Yes. I would like us to talk about something else that we do that really affects wildlife, and that is something human really affect the environment. If you look at our title here about human connection, sometimes is how do we affect the environment? Who took the papers there? Yeah. Sometimes I ask the students, who took the papers, and they say it's the weed. The other question is, where did the papers come from? From us. And if you look at the images that we have here, we have some sections of like this. This is a market, really market. This is a Nairobi river actually, and people dumping everything very close to the river. We have a dumping site very close to the forest, and many a times we carelessly throw things there without connecting that whatever we throw out there really affects our health, because we depend on clean water for survival. We depend on, we raise animals that sometimes feed on these papers, and it's not very good. So we help the students understand the challenges that our actions have on the environment. But also, We have to generate waste because every time we are alive, we are taking food, we generate waste. But what's the solution? We introduce them to sorting of the waste, where we can have metals together, we can have plastics together, we can have the biodegradable, that is the animal products, and the wooden products. Those are biodegradable. Naturally, insects, nature has given the role of some insects to ensure that they are able to break down the organic matter and take it back to the soil. A very good example is a bone here. You can see the bone here is insects that have really fed on the bone. Naturally, insects will do this because they are meant to break down this to take it back to the environment. You will not find an insect feeding on this. So this is really something that we want them to realize, that those wastes that can lot may have very minimal harm to the environment. But these ones have a lot of harm to the environment. So the connection here is, poaching may be a problem. You might think about you are not a poacher, but again, your actions might be affecting the environment. And that is why we end up by asking, if these sites are familiar, who can we really blame for this? And who do you think is a solution? It's me and you who can be blamed for this, because if you never lived, I don't think these papers really would exist. But again, we are also the solution. And that being one problem, we still want the students to appreciate the diversity. And still in the room, we have different biofacts. The animal products from like the giraffe. This is the neck of the giraffe. We have different skulls from different animals. We have snakes here. We have a frog and chameleon. So why are we having all this collection here? We want the students to appreciate, one, the diversity. We have different animals in the environment. Sometimes we may not value them because we don't feed on frogs, we don't feed on chameleon, don't feed on the snake. We might think they are not important in the environment. But remember, we talked about food chain. They have a role in the environment. So the students are able to take some points here. One of them, snakes have a role in the environment. Here I'm going to talk to you in a moment. Then they have features that enable them to survive in specific environment. A frog, where does the frog live? In water. So we need water to ensure that the frog really survive. That means that if we lose water, we lose the frogs. If you lose the forest, we lose the black rhinos and the elephants. If you lose grasslands, we lose the white rhinos. So we need to appreciate the diversity of different habitats. And then for those habitats, for those animals to survive with those habitats, we talk about the scales in the snakes, talk about the webbed feet that you get in the animals, talk about the hairy skin in most of the animals, talk about the tortoise shell, for example, where they are able to live in specific environment where they can hide from predators. And the students have an interaction of this. Talk about why we have some animals like the vultures. Yes, it's a cleaning crew. Imagine when a lion just gets an antelope, then it just runs away. Then the hyena comes and also picks a bit of that and crushes some bones. But the rest of the tendons remaining on the bones have to be removed by this. That's why our environment are not smelly, because this animal here really does a lot of work to clean the environment. So we want to create the connection that we have organisms. We may not eat them, but what they do, we cannot do ourselves. And that is why we are really helping the students interact. What we do here is something we want the students to ask questions, to understand. Why do we have these animals this different? And back to the question on the food chain. This is a concept taught in the classroom. Teachers are always telling the students about food chain. But when you look to Lewa, when students come to Lewa, they want to see the animals. But again, many times the questions that they ask us is, why do we allow lions to feed on the herbivores, on the zebras. Sometimes when they are lucky to see the lion. So by coming to this point that the students are able to make a food chain. A food chain is a flow of food from one organism to another. Why is this concept important? Many people, when they see a degraded environment, they don't connect that degradation is as a result of overgrazing. That is one thing that really contributes to that. Yes. People might have cut down the trees, but overgrazing is one of the things that lead to overgrazing. But nature was built to ensure that these organisms are there to ensure that they get their food here, but they also provide food to these organisms. But these also, as they take this food, they cannot take so much. They are also reducing this number to ensure that trees remain there. And then, because lions can kill so much, nature ensured that there are some other animals that can kill them. So we cannot remove the lions here. This connection is important because in our pastoral lands, many areas are really degraded. And the degradation might be because of overstocking. Overstocking that may be because there are too many livestock in their land. When you teach them about the need to put the right number of livestock, is we are addressing the role that these lions would be doing naturally in the environment. But in their setup, because they manage livestock, we want them to keep a number that will ensure that we have enough trees. Why do we need the trees in the environment? We talk about rainfall, we talk about clean air, we talk about soil erosion control, shades and all that, all those benefits. And that is why if you have to protect this, we have to have the right numbers, not just for wildlife, but also for the domestic animals. And we want that really appreciation about this. And that is one of the connections that we are really communicating to the students.
That's it for today's episode of TV47 Wildlife. We'll continue with the topic of conservation with a phantasmago in the next episode. So be sure to stay tuned. Same time, same place.